What's up guys, welcome to the channel. I'm still getting used to this whole YouTube thing, but it's been cool learning that a lot of you have similar feelings to me when it comes to Battlefield. Thanks for hanging out. It's fun to complain about Battlefield with you all in the vain hope that DICE will hear our cries. Feel free to stick around and drop a sub if you want to. Let's tackle the class system in Battlefield 6. I think it's fair to say there's been some questionable design choices with the current iteration of classes and how they play right now. I have some adjustments that could be made to make the class system better, and that's what I want to get into. I'm going to talk some specific critiques and their implications on the gameplay, and then we will discuss my proposed redesign of the classes. First, let's talk about the point of the class system. Part of the fun of Battlefield is choosing the role you want to fill for your team. Just as real militaries have different jobs for infantrymen, tank drivers, pilots, etc., Battlefield loosely tries to recreate these in game form. Most of the classes across all Battlefield games tend to present authentic representations of these roles. Battlefield is not realistic, nor is it trying to portray these roles accurately like a milsim. It's just trying to be an authentic and fun representation of these roles. Therefore, there is some freedom to add fun mechanics in between, even if they don't really happen in real life that way. Battlefield's classes and squad play are core to Battlefield's identity, and it's pretty easy to see Battlefield's influence on other games when it comes to the class system. I didn't get to play the old Refractor engine Battlefield games, but I did experience the class system in a way with the original Star Wars Battlefront games, which are famously a copycat of Battlefield's class system and mechanics. I do think that playing Battlefront as a child was what prepared me for Battlefield when I did eventually pick up the series when the Battlefield 3 beta came out. It was familiar and intuitive to me. Battlefield has mixed and matched different variations of the class system over the years, but I see Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 as getting the class system mostly right, even if they did have some issues. Many old school Battlefield players cite Battlefield 2 as one of the best examples of the class system, but I honestly can't comment on that one too much because I was 9 years old when Battlefield 2 released and I never had a PC to play it. From what I can gather from Battlefield 2 player sentiment, it seems like team play and the importance of each player's class selection was vital to the team's success. There were more hardcore mechanics that encouraged players to work together to achieve the overall outcome, and you had to communicate with your squad mates to make sure you had the right roles in your squad going into combat. With the transition of the Refractor engine Battlefield games to the Frostbite era, certain aspects of squad play and team play were watered down in favor of making the Battlefield formula a little more action-focused to appeal to a broader audience. This included removing stamina, adding universal 3D spotting, passive healing, squad spawns, among other things. Many OG Battlefield players will remember the criticisms levied at Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3 back in the day for trying to be too much like Call of Duty. Does this sound familiar to today? I will say these criticisms aren't totally off base, but I don't mind them as much because it did still feel like Battlefield 3 and 4 were trying to stay true to the core of being a squad-based shooter. You could still largely immerse yourself in your role and feel important to your team. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the issues with the current class design in Battlefield 6. Number 1, diluting class impact. Battlefield 6 essentially just got handed down the class design that Battlefield 2042 received when they categorized specialists into classes. Fundamentally, they are still very similar for better or worse. One of the overarching issues with Battlefield 6's classes and even previous games like Battlefield 3 and 4 is that their differences in purpose have been watered down somewhat in favor of making each class more self-sustaining. For example, instead of only allowing recon players to provide 3D spots for the team, any player regardless of class can 3D spot by simply pressing the spot button. The recon's spotting abilities are simply just additional supplemental spotting on top of the already strong 3D spotting capabilities of every class. Recon players proning in the back of the map with their recon drone are mostly just doing it because it provides points from spotting, or they're just trying to get the challenges done. They're probably harming the team more by not being in the fight at all, if we're being honest. Instead of being a crucial role that each team needs to spot enemy players and vehicles effectively, it's more of a negligible role. It really doesn't matter if a team has any recon players or not. In fact, it's probably more helpful for recon players to just play engineer or support instead. The overall impact of recon players fulfilling their role of spotting is not felt because spotting is already very powerful. with players being able to 3D spot anything at any range. A similar thing can be said for passive healing across all classes. You don't really need a medic to get to 100% health. We saw DICE try to add more depth to this area with Battlefield 5's attrition system, with players not being able to get to 100% health without a med pack. But overall sentiment of many players at the time led DICE to not keep this around, as many saw it as being less fun. I'm not saying we should implement Battlefield 5's attrition system, but it does have an effect on how important medics are to the team in general. And yes, it can be argued that medics are already very important in the sense that they can revive any teammate. The diluting of each class really encourages players to not really care about fulfilling their roles. They're more than happy to just run as lone wolves because they don't really need anyone else. It really doesn't make a difference in most cases what class players play. As it currently stands, every player in the game could either just play engineer or support, and it wouldn't really change anything at all. Number 2, the assault class is underpowered. In speaking about the assault class, I do believe it is a necessary role. I've seen some players in the past acting like being an aggressive player pushing the front line and going for kills is somehow not a team player in a Battlefield sense like medics or support players. I used to criticize my friend back in the day for playing assault only because I didn't really fully understand the impact an aggressive player had on the game. I do think the assault class should be tailored to these players that are chasing kills and wanting to change the flow of the match. They're usually the ones who are the best at clearing capture points and directly bleeding the enemy team's tickets via kills. Players who kill more and die less are overall having a more positive net impact on the team's success. Despite being probably the most underpowered class in the game, Assault somehow still maintains a decent pick rate. I'm not really sure how. That being said, right now there's not much incentive for a would-be Assault player to play Assault. Some aspects like faster health regeneration, quicker flag capping, and better responsiveness with Assault rifles are reasons to play the Assault class, but it's not enough to propel it over playing the support class right now. There needs to be something that would make an aggressive player want to play Assault that outweighs having infinite health and ammo. I fundamentally disagree with adding armor plates as 2042 did, but I will say the med pen was something that a lot of aggressive players liked, and it was wrongly nerfed into uselessness by taking away its healing ability. I do like the inclusion of the spawn beacon, but something still feels a bit off for the Assault class in its current state. Number 3, support needs to be split. Right now, support is the most powerful class in the game. As it stands right now, they basically took the Assault class from Battlefield 4 and gave it the infinite ammo and supplies of the BF4 support class. Combining heals and ammo into the same do-it-all supply box is my biggest gripe with the current class system. These two functions are extremely powerful together and have basically no downsides. Combining the LMG support class into the medic class has effectively removed the LMG gunner role, because that player is now expected by the players around them to be a medic, not an LMG gunner. The support class used to be the guy who specializes in light machine guns and resupplying teammates with ammo and explosives like they once did. I thought this was a role that was fun for many players, but in Battlefield 6 it has all but disappeared. Now that we've covered some of the issues with the current class design, let's talk about how I'd redesign the classes if I was put in charge. Let's first talk about how many classes I would have. Ideally, I would break it up into 5 classes: Assault, Engineer, Medic, Support, and Recon. For general changes, this is what I would do. Firstly, I would split the support class into 2 separate classes, Medic and Support. The entire point of this is really just to split up the capabilities of having heals and ammo all in the same class. I think it's just too overpowered. Next, I'd remove class-specific skins and characters. Since we have customization in the game and a store, really the class identification has already gone out the window, so might as well just let everyone use what they want. Next, I'd remove the signature gadget restriction and make it possible to use any combination of 3 gadgets. And of course, this would exclude launchers. Then, this might be controversial, but I would remove universal 3D spotting and allow just the Recon class and vehicles to be the only ones capable of 3D spotting for the entire team. We can get into this in another video, but I think this really makes the Recon class a lot more important in terms of a spotting sense. Then, just for fun, I would add a pilot skin that replaces your soldier skin when you spawn into a helicopter or a jet. For class weapon specializations, I would keep everything mostly the same, but for the new medic class, make carbines their signature weapon. I would actually keep open weapons. This might be controversial, but let me explain. In practice, I really don't think it affects the gameplay in Battlefield 6 all that much. Its impact is way overstated in my opinion. I've played both open and closed, and they largely feel the same to me. I don't see primary weapons as an essential part of a class's identity. It does not actually affect the role you play at all. It only affects the engagement distances that you play at. That's it. With closed weapons, let's say you decide to give medics SMGs only. Instantly, medics become relegated to only being effective on certain maps. Let's say you get a giant map in the rotation and SMGs are only effective at close to medium range. Do you think anybody would still play medic at that point? Assault rifles in militaries are often standard issue, so combat medics also using assault rifles is actually an authentic representation in reality. They just don't use LMGs or SMGs. There is no authenticity argument to be had in the other direction in this area. A hybrid Battlefield 4 style weapon system with multiple shared weapon types could be a solution, but in my opinion, it's still a pseudo open weapon system anyways. Assault rifles and carbines are essentially the same thing, if we're being honest. I think it's more fun to let people choose the weapon they want to use so they can play the class and role they like no matter the map, instead of forcing players to play as one class just because they want to use assault rifles. Additionally, I would not restrict grenade types. Those can all be shared. So this means that all classes will have smoke grenades. Let's now talk about some of the changes that I would make when it comes to the actual classes. Let's start with the assault class. The main additions I would make to the assault class to make it a more effective and attractive option for an aggressive player is bringing back the medical pen. This was something that was in 2042, but I know a lot of aggressive players that do like to push and be on the front line. They really do like this feature of being able to heal quickly. This would provide a boost of health regeneration at a rate of 35 health per second, and you get 2 uses before you have to resupply. I would also add directional breaching charges. With the directional breaching charges, they would be similar to C4, but they would only cause directional blast damage. So this would allow you as an assault player to open large holes, indestructible walls, and floors. And this is probably the biggest change, is I would increase the base sprint speed for the assault class to 6.5 meters per second. This is a half a meter per second faster than the base sprint speed in Battlefield 6, the same as Battlefield 4. If you want to be able to sprint even faster at a base speed, you can use the frontliner training specialization to go to 7.15 meters per second, just like the sprint perk in Battlefield 4. Let's now go ahead and talk about the medic class. Because this is a new class, we're going to have to determine which gadgets are a part of it. So as you can see in my list here, I've included defibrillators, the M320 smoke launcher, the grenade intercept system, the man-portable active protection system, and additionally, I have added 2 new ones, which would be the medical bag and the medical pouches, which would be very similar in function to how they function in Battlefield 4. A couple additional changes to this class would be that any teammate can now grab health from any medic on the team. You don't have to be a part of their squad for this to function. To make sure people aren't just Rambo reviving 20 people in 5 seconds, I've added a cooldown for successive defibrillator tap revives, but also you can still do full charge revives at will. This does not change. Because carbines are now the signature weapon for the medic class, I would also add faster weapon draw when using carbines for this class. And for the last big changes to the class system, we have to talk about the new support class. So the class gadgets would include the deployable cover, the incendiary airburst launcher, the ammunition box, ammunition pouches, C4 charges, and claymores. So with this ammunition box and the ammunition pouches, these would also function extremely similarly to how they do in Battlefield 4. So the ammo box gives you ammunition, gadgets, and throwables, and then the pouches only replenish your primary weapon ammo. As a part of this new support class, there are no more medical duties. The main focus is providing ammunition and supplies while machine gunning. Teammates can also grab ammo ammo from any support player on the team now, not just the squad. To make light machine guns a little bit more effective and able to suppress snipers and other players that are at a distance, I would add visual suppression and more sway effects on enemies when a support player is using a light machine gun. Additionally, I would also add 25% more turn radius when weapon mounting and bipoding as a support player. In conclusion, I don't know if DICE would actually consider making any of these changes in Battlefield 6, considering they already have a bunch of branding surrounding the 4 classes, but I think this overhaul would be a welcome change for many players. I think this new class system would solve a lot of the problems that we currently have in the game. If you have any feedback on the changes that I've made here, feel free to leave those in the comments below. Thanks for watching.